My name is Jody, also known as Calamity Jane. Welcome to another edition of In the Studio with Calamity Jane. Our purpose with this series is to highlight some amazing women in our community. And joining us today is Robyn Eckersley, and Robyn is on a mission to change the world.
Hi, Jody. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm very excited for this interview.
Tell us a little bit about your work.
Okay. Well, I'm an impact coach, and a lot of people will say she's a life coach, but where I've decided to kind of hone my coaching practice is in terms of impact. So typically I work with women one-on-one or in groups, and these women are people who view themselves as agents of change. They see themselves in a larger picture in the world. They see themselves making a real impact, a real difference, and creating a life that they're really proud of. And but the challenge that they're facing is that they might not have the tools or strategies to achieve that larger dream, that big vision that they have. So where I come in is I help them really get clear on that identity of being an agent of change and what that means to them and what they stand for. And then we talk about what mission they want to take on. Because oftentimes people who want to change the world want to change a lot of things about it. So I help them get clear on exactly what that looks like and then put actionable strategies into place so they can actually create that impact instead of just, staying in this world of possibility of, I could do this, or wouldn't it be great if I did this? So it starts from the inside out. We start with who they are, what they want to be about, and then we put that into real action. And then the other half of my business that I actually just launched this year is working with small and mid-sized businesses to use social impact strategies as a way of improving their bottom lines, of converting their customers into fans, and improving their employee morale.
How did you come to start in this field?
Well, I currently do a lot of work with people around the meaning of their life and life purpose. And personally, I was on this, what I call a hamster wheel of, getting up, going to work. It's a great job on paper. It's a great life on paper. And then, burning myself out at the end of the week and just doing it over and over again. And it was completely unfulfilling. So even though the pieces looked like they fit together, I was getting nothing out of it, and I felt like I could be making a bigger difference in the world. But my experience, and I think it's really common for other people too, is that when you think about making a difference, you think about, I'm going to become a doctor, or I'm going to, join the Peace Corps, or I'm going to start a nonprofit. They're very career focused, and I just didn't know what career would give me that fulfillment. And then it all kind of came to a head when my husband and I we were in the middle of planning our wedding. I ended up losing my Silicon Valley job, and I was in this place of like, what the heck am I doing with my life right now? Because I don't want to go back into the job I had, because I was admitting I hated it. I just hated that lifestyle. And I started this search of, let's find something that actually means something to me. And so I came across a life coach for the first time, and I had no idea what that was. And I had a free session with her and was like, okay, let's give this a shot. And I was very skeptical about it and very, this sounds like a fake career to me at that point in my life. And so we were talking about the crossroads that I was at, and we were talking about how I was looking for fulfillment. I was looking for something to fill that void, and what I like to do and who I'd like to work with. And at the end of it, she's like, it kind of sounds like you want to do what I do. It sounds like you want to be a coach. And I was like, I don't really know what you do. Like, I don't know what we're doing here. So she kind of laughed, and she was like, just do some research into it. Like, look into the profession of coaching. Let me know what you think. And it was magic from there on out, because I found out more about what the coaching profession was. And I found a training school that I really liked and that really vibed with the type of tribe that I was looking for. So I went through that program. I went through the certification. I did all the official stuff. And then I decided this is how I help people. This is how I help women specifically. And it's been a ride since then. I started out as a self-care coach, actually, and I wanted to work with women to see that they are worth more than what they think they're worth. And I wanted to help victims of domestic violence because that's also my background. And I wanted to help people come through that transition and that process of rediscovering themselves and building a world that they can thrive in. And then after a series of months, I shifted into becoming an impact coach, where I wanted to work with women who were further on their journey of, okay, now that I'm in a place of stability and a place of believing more in myself, let's see what else I can do. Let's really take on the world and let's really see, let's see what's possible.
What you said was very, very neat. So you essentially want to help women through these kind of transitions. So you take them you started with kind of place one, help them move into the next phase. And then once you were doing that, then you take them from that phase to an even more empowered kind of a level where then they can turn around essentially and empower others or do what they are uniquely suited to help change the world in their own way. That's a very powerful thing that you do.
Thank you. I like that you use the word journey, because really I think all of life is one big transition, and depending on where we are in that particular journey, we're going to need different kinds of support. We're going to run into different kinds of opportunities, different people. And I feel like I am better suited for the woman who's really revved up and ready to go and take action. And, self-care and self-love and identity are important parts of what we work on anyway with those types of clients, but they're not at the core. These are women who realize that self-care is important, and they're focused on that being a tool to this larger plan of action. But yeah, it's a very different kind of vibe. Those two different groups are two different versions of maybe the same woman. So it's just, I think, where I can better serve that particular woman when she's at that point in her journey.
What do you feel makes you successful?
I feel the feedback that I get from my clients makes me successful, because when they tell me what has happened as a result of our conversations, even when it's further down the line, you can leave a session and say, that was great. That was a lot of fun. I learned a lot about myself. I discovered something new about myself and how I view the world. Or I got a great plan. I can't wait to execute. That in and of itself is a success. If the client is walking away from the session and they're like, okay, I got something out of that. I think the bigger success is what that facilitates for them, like what that opens for them, because we can't predict what someone's going to do with new self-conscious self-awareness. We can't predict what someone's going to do once they know themselves at a deeper level. And part of that surprise for me is an indication like, yeah, you're doing something good. You're helping these women. So, and by the way, I have 2 male clients, and they're doing awesome things in the world too. So even though I market towards women and I reach out to women, I do have the occasional real soulful guy come along, and if that's what he sees himself doing too, then yeah, I'm here to help him as well.
What piece of advice would you give a new entrepreneur who is just starting out?
A new entrepreneur is in a really vulnerable place. He or she might be second guessing themselves all the time, or feeling lost or feeling alone. Sometimes being an entrepreneur can be a really lonely place. I guess the single piece of advice, actually I'll give 2, if you don't mind. 2 pieces of advice that I would give a new entrepreneur are: 1, trust yourself. Have the conviction in what you're doing and allow your creativity to run with that. So a lot of times we think about our trade as only one way of doing things. So for example, as a coach, I originally thought of my business as me sitting down with one-on-one sessions, and that's the only thing I can do as a coach. Similar to like a therapist or a psychologist, things like that. You just do one-on-one sessions for the most part. But when you open yourself to creativity, you start to see different ways of reaching more people. Some people, if you're looking at it from a business perspective, you might see it as different streams of revenue. But when you're thinking about how can I help more people, you can write books. You can host shows like this. You can do group sessions. You can do workshops and speaking gigs. It doesn't have to be one particular avenue for you to be reaching people and facilitating the change that you wish to see. So having that conviction and allowing your creativity to run with it, that's one piece of advice that I would give. The second is to find a community. Find a group of other entrepreneurs, of people who are on a similar quest as you, and surround yourself with them. Immerse yourself in that world. And part of that community doesn't even have to be in person. I consider like Marie Forleo and Gary Vaynerchuk and Seth Godin and all of these amazing people, Brene Brown, I consider them part of my community because I create an influx of their influence through their podcasts, through YouTube videos, through their books and recordings. So that shapes my world, and it makes me feel like, yes, I'm on the right track. And so when you kind of bolster your team, your community, that can give you the motivation to get through the tough times, to get through that loneliness. And the in-person support is just as important, if not more, I think. Because, a biz bestie or a business bestie is a great person to, when you do have those moments of, what am I doing? I should just go get a regular job. That would be way easier. And yeah, it would be easier, but it would kill your soul probably. Honestly, if you're an entrepreneur and you decided to take the leap, going back would, it wouldn't be something that would last very long. So having that community to kind of keep you moving forward, and reassure you that you're not alone and that you're meant for something, to create something from nothing. I think those are two of the most important things I could offer.
What is your favorite word?
I think I have a lot of favorite words. And I think currently my favorite word of the year, currently is resistance. And I say that because of what it evokes in me. When I think resistance, the very first thing is Carrie Fisher in Star Wars. And she, I think, was an idol for a lot of women. And I love what she stood for on screen and off screen, and she didn't suffer any fools. And then I think resistance is one of my favorite words because even though I'm looking to change the world from a place of compassion and empathy, that doesn't mean being a doormat. That doesn't mean expressing compassion to the point where you compromise your values. And understanding this concept of resistance means drawing your line in the sand and saying, this is what I believe and this is what I'm going to fight for. And this is going to be part of the impact and my existence and identity. So this idea of resistance, I think a lot of people might think that's a weird thing for a coach to say, saying, just love everybody and give everyone a chance. And yes, you can do that without standing for nothing, I guess. So that's my current word of the year.
What is your least favorite word?
My least favorite word is stagnant, because it just, what it represents and how it feels, it just feels like, ugh, it feels flat, it feels lifeless. And that's also kind of what it represents to me, that there's no growth happening, that there's nothing being created. It's just plateauing. And that's a very dangerously comfortable place to be. And just the other day, a friend of mine and I were talking about how we like to be safe. We like to feel safe, but we confuse safety with comfort, our safety zone with our comfort zone. And I think when we're confusing the two, that's when we become stagnant. And that's where we really limit what could be, because we just want to play it safe. And if we're uncomfortable, we think we're being unsafe. And if we're not stagnant, it could be uncomfortable. Growth, change, creation, it can feel really uncomfortable. But, that's part of also, what comes out on the other end. If you're stagnant, you're really foregoing all of the incredible experiences that you could be having. And it's just, like, even just saying it, I'm like, ugh. So yeah, that's definitely one of my least favorite words.
What turns you on, creatively, emotionally, or spiritually?
Being surrounded by people who believe that they can do something. I think that's why I enjoy networking events. I used to hate networking events, and now I love it because I've found the ones that I'm around people who really care about doing something, about creating some kind of ripple effect, and that they are really committed to it. And that conviction, that feeling of, yeah, I'm in this. I'm choosing to spend, my blood, sweat, and tears into making this real. That, surrounding myself with people who have that energy and who let that fuel, like I was saying about the entrepreneur advice, like letting that belief fuel their creativity. What if we did this? What if we did that? And that kind of idea generation. Oh my gosh, like that's my energizer battery, essentially. I love that. And for me, it's fulfilling spiritually. It feels like, when I say spiritually, I'm thinking of like a higher purpose, meaning to what we're doing on this earth, milling around. So it seems like that even if I'm really tired, if I'm like, I don't feel like, driving across town to this event, I will do it because I know that I'm going to feel like $1,000,000 afterwards. I'm going to feel like, oh my gosh, all these amazing people want to do so many good things in the world, and I'm so excited to see what they accomplish. I know I'm going to walk out of there just on a high. Yeah.
So what turns you off?
That's an easy one. That is arrogance. When my entire life, if I felt that someone was being particularly arrogant, that was like I don't have time for you kind of reaction, where it's like, okay, like you might be amazing, but if you're going around in a really boastful way, or you should pay attention to me because I'm so great, like I don't have time for that. There's a lot of other great people who are more concerned about using that greatness that really everybody has to be of service to others. Not just, I'm so great and that's why you should listen to me. Not, my greatness is helping other people look at their greatness, and creating that spirit of looking more towards others, instead of just like, yeah, I should be the center of your attention. I don't have time for that.
It's a huge turnoff for me too. It's just instant.
Yes.
What is your favorite curse word?
My favorite curse word is probably like, fuck! Where it can be really drawn out. It can be really like precise. And it can just like, it's like blowing off steam at the same time. Yeah. Sorry, Mom.
What sound or noise do you love?
The sound of, so my husband and I go to a lot of live shows. We love live music and we love concerts and festivals. And I think one of my favorite sounds is the cheering of a crowd, like massive cheers as soon as the band is walking on stage or starting to play. It's that like, it's the sound of anticipation. It's the sound of everyone coming together and it's going to be a great night. So yeah, that initial roar of the crowd for at a concert would be definitely one of my favorite sounds.
What sound or noise do you hate?
I have two. So one just sets my teeth on edge is when silverware is against ceramics or styrofoam. Yeah, it's like the worst. And to the point of sometimes if it happens across the restaurant, I'm just like, I freeze. And if we have time for a little story, my husband and I were at the buffet at the Cosmopolitan, like I think 2 years ago. And we were sitting across the restaurant from this older couple who, they're moving very slowly and going to get their food and whatnot. And so being super cute and just very adorable together. And then the husband is just cranking away with that knife on the ceramic plate to the point where across the room, I'm like, I can't eat. Like my teeth feel like little marshmallows right now. I just can't. And I don't think either one of them either could hear it or could recognize it. Just going to town on that plate. So that was, and I love buffets. A habit, not a habit, one of my favorite hobbies is eating. And I was like, you're ruining this for me. So anyway, that's a terrible sound for me. And then also, something that really makes me sad when I hear it is people talking badly about themselves. If I hear my mom talking bad about herself or people saying that they can't do something, they're really not good at something, they're really like a lot of self-defeating talk. Like it really gets me upset to the point of like, this is dangerous. Like don't speak like this because words are powerful. And you're reinforcing and building this belief that you have nothing to offer. And I know that's not true. And I think one of the biggest tragedies in life is the number of people who believe they have nothing to offer because they've convinced themselves. And the sound of someone talking down on themselves is just like, it's heartbreaking. It's just heartbreaking.
What profession, other than your own, would you like to attempt?
I would really like to try being a marine biologist. It's something that I've always wanted to do since I was a little kid and, wandering from the young adult section of the library to the college section, even when I was in elementary school, checking out these books on marine biology and learning about the oceans and learning about all the life that happens there on these beautiful ecosystems and the fact that there's so much undiscovered. And I think that whole, this spirit of creativity, what can we learn down there? What can we explore? And how does that, help humanity in some way? I would love to do that.
What profession would you not like to do, like ever?
I would never like to drive a truck. That's, I don't know how people wield those tractor trailers all over the place, but it looks like a brutal life. I would also hate to be a customer service rep for an airline. I think that's one of the most unforgiving jobs. And they receive so much undeserved flack. They're usually like, the middleman and in a very like high pressure environment. And yep, I don't see myself doing that anytime soon.
If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
It's going to be a little bit emotional. If God exists, and I show up at the pearly gates, then I think this is like strangely, unexpectedly emotional. Just, you did a great job. Like, nice job. Because it's, The other day I was having a conversation with someone, and she's this amazing woman that's at my co-working space. And she was saying that I just, when I die, if I could just see, if it was total darkness, and everyone whose lives I touched was like a glowing orb or something. She's like, I would want that darkness to be totally lit up. And I don't know, if God exists, how he would verbalize that, but something like, you changed a lot of lives. Like you helped a lot of people. Oh my gosh. That's awesome. Sorry, I was totally not expecting that reaction. But yeah, that was awesome.
Thanks for being with us today, Robyn.
No problem. Thank you for having me. This was a lot of fun.
And thank you for watching. And join us for the next edition of In the Studio with Calamity Jane, where we take one amazing woman from Las Vegas and put her in the spotlight for a moment.